Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh. Once again, brothers and sisters, thank you for joining me on a very somber day after witnessing some of the horrendous imagery that's coming out of Palestine right now. And today, just going over some of the social media platforms and getting images, clips of the genocide that's taking place in real time in Palestine, it really breaks my heart. But we're going to continue to speak up about this. We will continue my channel, Cover FF, and Brother Yusuf Ismail's channel, the South African Debate Initiative. We will continue to speak up and raise awareness about the plight of the Palestinian people. Joining me, and I can see the brother backstage right now. I'll be adding him to the stage. Welcome to the show, Brother Yusuf. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. How are you doing, Mohammed?
Alhamdulillah, brother. You know, I woke up to some of the imagery that's coming out of Gaza right now and also the West Bank, the total destruction of Rafah and other places within Gaza. It really breaks my heart. And we'll be touching on another aspect of the war and the paramedics that have been found. And also the continual killing of women and children by this barbaric bastard army. Subhanallah, my heart bleeds for the people of Palestine. I did post something on my X earlier on today that me and you will continue to speak out regarding the genocide. We'll not be silenced. We'll continue to speak, inshallah ta'ala. Even though I've been shadow banned and my YouTube channel has been restricted, even when I try to post something in the chat, it gets thrown back at me. But we'll continue to move forward, Brother Yusuf. And subhanallah, I'll pass the mic on to you. And
it's quite important what you're saying. You know, what we've done, and I was just thinking, maybe as a productive, the amount of content and the amount of material we've discussed over the past year. I mean, could because we can't recall all the incidents. There are so many atrocities being committed by the day that what happened a month ago we forget. You know, I just recalled about 2 days ago that we spent an entire session last year just discussing one incident of that disabled boy. There was an autistic boy who was eaten by Israeli dogs, and I mean, I had completely forgotten about the issues. I had forgotten about, for example, more than a year ago that Al Jazeera documented Israeli soldiers coming into a school and shooting everybody point blank. There's so much that is happening, so many atrocities that are basically occurring, that they're at such a scale and such a space and pace that we forget it. And that's why I was thinking at some point, and it's been in my mind to possibly document all of this in the form of a book dealing and deconstructing all the Israeli Hasbara. And it's something that was on my mind for some considerable time. It's just a question of schedule. The other point I also want to make is that, you know, my forte in the past has been a lot on debates on the Bible, on the Old Testament, on the New Testament for a number of years. And in fact, even Islamic apologetics dealing with the issue of peace and violence. And I just realized that, you know, the last actual theological debate I had was July last year on the book of Isaiah, whether Isaiah 53 is in fact a reference to Christ or not. And what occurred to me is that, you know, I just kind of feel from a perspective of obligation that, you know, in a time like this, the whole debate between, you know, Christian missionary tautology and Islamic dawah workers or Muslims effectively becomes irrelevant, but because a lot of the people out there who are now wanting to proselytize and convert Muslims and so on have effectively shown their true colors by supporting the state of Israel, by supporting the genocide. So when a missionary, and you know some of these scoundrels online like Wood and many of these other people I've engaged over the years, want to start talking about peace and a loving Jesus, it's belied by the notion that automatically their support for the Israeli genocide will, to an ordinary person, for that particular man, not just a Muslim, but any ordinary person, will cease to listen from them. The Gaza genocide and the Christian Zionist support for it and their inadequacy in being able to speak out against the Israeli genocide effectively means that Christian missionary outlets are a dead piece of wood. They are like a dead piece of wood. I don't know. You've been in Speaker's Corner. I will one day, inshallah, would like to come there. By the way, I've got a lot of family in the United Kingdom. My parents have gone there many times, but I haven't. And maybe that may be my next destination. Inshallah, we will meet up. But from the perspective of Speaker's Corner, how many Muslims have converted to Christianity? I don't know. Very few. But there's an insurmountable number of Christians that are now dumping Christianity into the wasteland for Wadis, dumping Christian theology. And a lot of this also arises from the fact that now for the first time we see that Christian missionary talk and rhetoric about love and about goodwill and good neighborliness is basically falling on deaf ears. Because how can on the one hand you talk about Jesus loves you and you care about the interests of me, when at the very same breath you are supporting the Israeli genocide? So your credibility as a Christian falls out of the window, basically, if you are coming out across as a Zionist, because the vast majority of evangelicals out there, and even those who are engaged in missionary work towards Muslims, support the state of Israel. That in itself is a default position. So I haven't had many, in years, by the way, I haven't had many people. Probably was a young day when Jehovah's Witnesses, I don't know if they're also a dying force, but they used to, in the past, in the 80s, growing up as a kid, and in the 90s, regularly knocking on your door. But after many, many years, I saw them walking on the streets, and I interacted with them. I engaged them. I just approached them because I was taking a jog. I mean, friendly guys and not as aggressive as they were back in the 80s in the South African apartheid era. And I questioned them about the Israeli genocide, and they were tongue-tied. They didn't know what to say. But the positions that they adopt, if you support the Israeli genocide, which a lot of them do, then effectively, I'm not saying the witnesses, but a lot of these evangelical born-again right-wingers do support it, then effectively anything that you say after that falls into the abeyance. And so for me, on one level, and I want to tell the Dawah workers out there, is that it appears to me that Christian missionary discourse has lost its credibility ever since the Israeli genocide has commenced, purely because of the fact that their support, in fact, exposes the idea that their particular approach towards you, in terms of whatever missionary tautology they may want to put out, is totally discredited by virtue of their support for evil. And so this now takes me to the incident that basically happened, which is so, aptly, dealt with by the...
Before we go into that topic, Yusuf, and I apologize, and this is going to be quite...
No, go ahead.
This is a serious situation. I do feel some individuals from the Dawah scene are too afraid to speak up about the people of Palestine. They're too afraid to show their face, just in case their channel might get striked, or they might lose some monetized videos and so forth. I think there's an aspect of people selling their souls for the dunya. And myself and you, we have continued throughout the start of this genocide to raise awareness. And the stories of Hind Rajab, may Allah have mercy upon her, Ahmad Dhaher, may Allah have mercy upon him, and all the other people that we spoke about who have been murdered by these bastard Zionists, Israeli army. And the narrative was also told to us that these people, or these civilians, are human shields. They were harboring Hamas fighters. But now the lie can't be repeated over and over again. we've come to a stage where they are openly admitting there is no human shields, that we are targeting women and children. There's ample reports, and you went through it yourself, Brother Yusuf, of young children being shot in the chest, shot in the head. There's occasions where people have been tied, hands and feet, and been shot in the head and in the back. Mass graves are being dug up right now. Brothers and sisters, I'm really begging you from the bottom of my heart, and I'm really saying this from the bottom of my heart, is that please share these streams. Even if you're not going to subscribe to my channel, even if you're not going to like, share these streams, because these are COVFF and Brother Yusuf's channel, the South African Debate Initiative, are the only channels on a regular basis speaking about the genocide. Yes, we've got big platforms like Mehdi Hassan, or you've got other platforms, Candace Owens, and other people who are talking about the genocide, that's taking place. But when it comes to the Dawah channels, you can count on your hand, one hand, how many of them are talking about the genocide right now. I want you, brothers, really, and sisters, to comprehend upon that.
Tell me, Mohammed, is this, I mean, because, we're not going to necessarily mention the names, and that's not our aim here, but there are major channels in the UK, and you're correct, with some up to subscribers of 1 million. So, I mean, obviously, they won't give us platforms because they've got their own agendas. But do you see this as some sort of deliberate attempt on their part not to terrain this particular subject by virtue of the fact that they're concerned they may lose their particular monetization, or possibly shut down by YouTube? Is that the kind of indication that you are getting from your circles? Because there are a number of them out there, and I see this, that they are engaged more particularly in the culture of refutation against each other. So you've got channels against each other and against this sheikh and that sheikh, and it's like whoever's wanting to basically put their idea and version of Islam out there as being the right one. But on these critical key issues affecting the global society, the world in general, they're totally quiet. I don't know, maybe someone like you should possibly, or someone in your circle, I know Brother Nazam and Brother Mustafa, who are, well-known, quite articulate, maybe approach these individuals and say, look, this kind of information needs a wider following, because a channel like yours has got 15,000 subscribers, which should at least amass 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 views at the least. But you're being shadow banned. I'm being shadow banned. I'm a fledgling channel. But there are channels with 1 million subscribers who have that particular subscription base to get a broader viewership. But they by default possibly engage in cheap and empty rhetoric on each other. I'll give you an example. There's this I think young Australian former singer, a girl in Australia, what's her name, Lily J. She questions on ChatGPT about I don't know if you've seen the video, what do you say about the Quran, what do you say about the Bible, and so on. And it's quite catching. And it's quite, the channel seems to be increasing in large numbers. But then I see just a few weeks ago, a major channel in the UK, a Dawah channel, spends at least with another so-called sheikh about half an hour just discussing another person's YouTube channel, because she associated with someone, who was not ideologically lean to him. So I'm saying that from the perspective of getting the work done, go out there and basically share the information, or share the stream, as Brother Muhammad basically stated. Share the stream in terms of what you have. So basically that's what I can say. I see there's someone on the channel that wants to join us. Before we go into our topic, I'm just going to send you a message about this gentleman.
He's run off. He's run off.
Has he left?
Yeah, he's left.
As he left, I think. Yeah, no, I know this individual here, not personally, but he seems to be active. A Turkish gentleman from South Africa, because I shared this. He's probably joined in from my group.
I really want to unpack this, brothers, before we go into the main topic of today's show. Is that there are a handful of brothers from YouTube channels which are well known who are happy to do fundraisers and so forth for the people of Palestine, which is very nice and very good. But not many of them really want to talk about the genocide, the mass killing, the murder. I think, me personally, we watch Dawa channels or debates among Muslims and Christians for entertainment. We know Islam is the truth. We know it, but we watch it because out of entertainment and we've got nothing else better to do. Or it could be the aspect of, let's put the situation of Palestine one side, let's ignore them, and let's focus on these debates, and because it's more entertaining and more fun to watch. But we are losing our humanity. We are losing our iman. We know the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, when one part of the ummah is in pain, the whole body is in pain. And right now, I'm living in the UK. Brother Yusuf is in South Africa, and we are feeling the pain of the brothers and sisters in Palestine. We have continued to do these streams. We've been shadow banned, we've been striked out, we've been numerous situations that are being put to us, but we're continuing to move forward. And with that, I really want to open now the topic regarding the paramedics. We've been lied to by the British government, by the American government, Blinken, Biden, all of these individuals standing in the White House telling us that they saw images of beheaded babies, mass rapes. We were told all these pack of lies. And even the Israeli media, the Channel 12, I think it is, in Israel, and other agencies amongst the Israeli government has said, no, this was all a pack of lies. But yet, the British and the Americans have continued to lie to us. And now it's come to us a place where us Muslims, we are really forgetting about the people of Palestine. When we see the numbers, 50,000, 55,000 killed or martyred, to us is just a number now. It's just like watching or playing a game like Call of Duty or Fortnite. It's just numbers now. It really annoys me, and I really want to verbally be aggressive, but I've got to be careful. I really want to say some words which are unpolite and very hostile, but I'm trying to hold it in. I really am, Brother Yusuf, and it really breaks my heart when I see this. It breaks my heart. Yeah, Brother Yusuf, you were going to talk about the paramedics, and we can inshallah go into that.
I think let's basically go to that. And I appreciate the fact that, someone like you, like I mentioned, is extremely humble. You emotionally turned up. When I see these images, what angers me more is that when I see images and horrific atrocities committed by the Israelis, what angers me more than anything else is the defense and the apologetics that are put forth by individuals that support the state of Israel. And that's why I get so angered and aggressive in relation to that. So let's start off with what we are doing right now. Basically, and I'm going to share the screen shortly, as it stands, just on the 23rd of March, Israel murdered, listen to this, they murdered 15 Palestinian paramedics and rescue workers one by one. What actually happened was that, according to, by the way, there were 15 Palestinian paramedics and rescue workers, and there was one United Nations employee. They were apparently killed one by one. They were shot dead in the head by the Israeli soldiers, and they were then buried in a mass grave about approximately on the 23rd of March, so it's more than a week ago, in southern Gaza. According to OCHA, OCHA is the United Nations Humanitarian Affairs Office. The Palestinian Red Crescent and civil defense workers, They were on a mission to essentially rescue colleagues who had been shot at earlier in the day. They were shot dead and some were shot injured. And when they went to rescue them, their vehicles had come under heavy Israeli fire in the Rafah district and the Tel El Sultan district. And what then happened was that these civil defense and the PRCS ambulance, that's the Palestinian Red Crescent ambulances, arrived at the scene. This was mentioned by the head of OCHA in Palestine, this famous individual, Jonathan Whittle. He made mention of this in a video statement. And he said that one by one, the paramedics and the civil defense workers were shot dead. They were struck. Their bodies were gathered and buried in a mass grave. And upon digging the mass grave, they found that a lot of them had been handcuffed. So they were handcuffed. Philip Lazzarini, who was the head of UNRWA, the UN Relief Agency for Palestinian Refugees, he basically made mention that one of his employees was found dead in Rafah. And he mentioned the fact that the colleague was retrieved. He was together with the aid workers. So the Israeli Defense Force fully knew who these individuals were. They knew that they were a convoy of vehicles comprising of ambulances, civil defense trucks, and 2 cars from the health ministry. They were then sent to retrieve the bodies. And that convoy also came under fire. And they were murdered in cold blood. So I just want to basically share this with you. So because the Guardian newspaper, and I shared this earlier with you, gives an excellent timeline in terms of what is happening. And these people are providing. And by the way, I just want to make a point. You made mention about earlier YouTube channels raising funds for Palestine. Where the hell are these funds going to? Where are those YouTube channels out there that are raising funds and asking for monies from Palestine? Where is your money going to? Is it going to aid? Because right now, there's no aid entering Israel. The Israelis are blocking food, medical supplies. So where on earth is your money going to as an individual? You're a YouTube channel. You're a YouTuber out there. And you are raising monies from Gaza, for Gaza. Where is your money going to? And how are you getting that money in? Are you paying UNRWA? I mean, UNRWA was the only for decades, the only legitimate outfit there. And of course, there are many other humanitarian outlets. But you are raising it for and on behalf of your YouTube channel, paying into your account. Where's that money going to? So I'm just mentioning one point, which you raised earlier, Brother Mohammed, because we've never done this. I don't have the capacity. Firstly, even if I were to raise money, we could easily say for the past year, we've never raised monies for Gaza because we don't have the ability or the capability to enter Israel and, in fact, assist them from a pragmatic financial food point of view. The only thing you can do is approach legitimate outlets and food agencies like maybe the World Central Kitchen or UNRWA and so on, and approach them to help. But a lot of people out there running YouTube channels, raising monies from Gaza. Where's your money going to? Because it's impossible to get that into Israel. So what are you doing by raising money? So just a thought for the viewers out there: be careful where you throw your money out to. We don't ask for monies. We've never asked by Saf or Brother Muhammad, because we know we don't have the capability to take that money and go to either give it to Hamas or give it to a legitimate outlet there. And by the way, we will probably not be allowed to enter Gaza itself. So just be careful for people out there, and certainly many channels who are asking for monies for Gaza. We have a lot in South Africa having fundraising dinners for Gaza. Where's that money going to? We don't have any accountability. Just be careful. So coming back, that's just an aside. Coming back to what you had raised about this. This is the Guardian timeline report. I just want to share the screen here. The Gaza paramedics killing, a visual timeline. So I've got it there on the screen. If you can probably just share it, Mohammed, on the screen. Yeah, there we are. So I want to go through this because this is probably one of the best items that I've seen and assessments on the situation. We're going to go through what actually happened. The Gaza paramedic killing, a visual timeline. And this is detailing where those medics were basically shot. So this is how it happened. Where are we? I see it tells me to register here, but I'm already logged online. So let me just try and see if I can get this. I just want to stop sharing this because I am registered with the Guardian. Let me try and stop sharing the screen because it was an excellent article. I had the article opened up earlier. Where are we? Sign in with email.
Inshallah, while you look for that, I just want to remind the people, please go to my channel, and it's very easy if you are able to subscribe to my channel. I've nearly hit 16k subscribers, but yet the output seems to be blocked, and definitely I've been shadow banned by YouTube. But alhamdulillah, every time I try to post something in my YouTube channel chat, it comes up as spam. So anytime I try to post something with the term Israeli or Gaza or Palestine in the chat, it comes up as spam and it gets rejected. I wonder why this is happening to my YouTube channel. So, Brother Yusuf, have you got everything ready?
Yeah, I'm just trying to log on. For some reason, I've been kicked out of the Guardian YouTube page. But I'm trying to see if I can get it in. It says you signed in. Welcome. Save and continue. I hope I've got it here. Yeah, now we are here. Now we're in it. I had to get onto my account. So I'm going to try and reshare this and see if I can get this shared so we can go through this entire piece quickly. I think I've got it here. I think this is it. Just see if the whole thing works. Log on and let's see if this is, here we are. Here's the entire article. So here we are. We got it open, Brother Muhammad, on your page. So if people can view this, and let's go through this whole thing with us. So this is basically a visual timeline in terms of the paramedic sources. This is the report by many journalists that have covered this, and of course videos and graphics that are provided by these two individuals here. So on the 23rd of March at 4:20 a.m., and you can see this, a Red Crescent ambulance was on its way to collect people that were injured by an airstrike in Rafah. So they'd already come under an airstrike. They had come under Israeli fire, and 2 paramedics were killed. There was a survivor, Munter Abed, who was detained and interrogated. A few hours later, a convoy, including ambulances, a fire truck, health ministry vehicles, and a UN car, was dispatched to recover the bodies of the 2 paramedics. So that also came under fire. 2 health ministry vehicles drive away, but contact is lost with the rest of the convoy. And then 6 days earlier, we heard, of course, that Israel had obviously ended its ceasefire. On the 24th of March, Gaza Civil Defense Agency said it has not heard from the missing people. Access to the site is blocked by the Israeli Defense Force. So these people that are missing are those people that had left on the 23rd of March by the Red Crescent ambulance and, of course, the UN vehicle to go and locate those 2 paramedics that had already been killed by Israel. On the 26th of March, you had a convoy of vehicles carrying officials from the United Nations Office for the Coordination of Human Affairs. They tried and they failed to access the site. Whilst en route, the same team see a woman being shot. She's being shot and the bullet hits her in the back of the head. And the man who is trying to retrieve her is also shot. And then he's put into a UN vehicle. He's put into a UN vehicle. On the 20th, and here's a video showing OCHA trying to access the mass burial site. So let's just show this video. Here we are.
This is Romeo 1. I'm just going to check to see if there's any human remains in here. Just so wait out.
Remain here, over.
Yes, Roger.
Another one shot. Another one shot. Another one.
Have a look at that. Look at this. They are traveling and they're being shot.
We will remain here, over. Yes,
Roger.
another one shot. Another one shot. Another one shot.
Who's shooting them? The Israelis shooting them in the head.
One shot. Another one shot. Another one shot.
Okay. So Let me just try and close this here. Exit full screen. So that's what happened. That's the shooting. Then on the 27th of March, the OSHA team finally make it to the site. They come there. They report, this is when the issue starts. They report finding the ambulances, the UN vehicle, and the fire truck crushed and partially buried. The body of a civil defense worker is recovered from under the fire truck, but the recovery mission has to withdraw. As they come under fire, the situation becomes unsafe. So here's a picture, the video graphics, showing the ambulances and the UN vehicle. They were dumped in the sand by the Israelis. They were buried alive.
Right at the site where the ambulances were hit. These ambulances have been buried on the sand. The UN vehicle here, buried on the sand, bulldozer.
Look at that. So just have a look at this again. This is 20 seconds.
The site where the ambulances were hit. These ambulances have been buried on the sand. The UN vehicle here, buried on the sand, bulldozer.
Buried by who? By the Israeli Defense Force. Then on the 28th of March, the Civil Defense Agency said it has accessed the site. They found the body of its team leader, as well as the ambulance and the fire truck, which has been reduced to a scrap, part of scrap metal. We don't know whether, the bodies, basically, some of the bodies were mutilated. So we don't know whether they were deliberately crushed, possibly by the IDF, with them inside or with them outside. But they were in a bad condition. So on the 30th of March, they returned to the site, OSHA officials, and they find the bodies of 8 Red Crescent workers and the 5 other civil defense responders, 1 UN staff member, buried in a mass grave. They were dumped in a mass grave. A 9th Red Crescent worker remains unaccounted for. And here's the image here that you see here. Look at this. A shallow grave. Look at the bodies. The bodies seem to be mutilated. Look at the body. You can see the foot there. These are the bodies that are buried by the Israeli Defense Force, the satanic state. Some dismembered. So they dismembered and effectively they were shot dead. Doesn't stop there. The crushed UN vehicle and the fire truck can be seen in the photograph, so they were totally crushed. That's it there. And then, of course, there's this convoy of vehicles. This is the area where the bodies were exhumed. And in the video image, in the film, Jonathan Woodall, the head of OSHA, this is the famous video, which I don't know has been shown on BBC, says that the dead were shot one by one, then buried in a mass grave. So let's listen to what he says. This is Jonathan Woodall, the head of OSHA.
Health workers should never be a target, and yet we're here today digging up a mass grave of first responders and paramedics. 7 days ago, civil defense and PRCS ambulances arrived at the scene. One by one, they were hit, they were struck, their bodies were gathered and buried in this mass grave. It's an absolute horror. What has happened here? This should never happen. Healthcare workers should never be a target.
So they were so caught up with the evil atrocities that they wanted to bury the evidence. That's the only thing you do. I deal with murder regularly, daily in my life. I deal with the rape. I deal with rapes of minors. I know how the criminal mind works more than anyone, more than the average man. I wouldn't say more than anyone, but more than the average man. The only reason you would bury someone in a shallow grave is to cover up the evidence. So listen to Jonathan Woodall.
Workers should never be a target, and yet we're here today digging up a mass grave of first responders and paramedics. 7 days ago, civil defense and PRCS ambulances arrived at the scene. One by one, they were hit, they were struck, their bodies were gathered and buried in this mass grave. It's an absolute horror. What has happened here? This should never happen. Healthcare workers should never be a target.
So that's Jonathan Woodall. Then on the 31st of March, the burials were postponed pending autopsies. The head of OSHA, Tom Fletcher, says the dead were found buried by the wrecked and well-marked vehicles. They were killed by Israeli forces whilst trying to save lives. The IDF claims its soldiers opened fire on the vehicles because they were advancing suspiciously towards IDF troops, rubbish, without headlights or emergency signals, and without providing evidence that Hamas and Islamic Jihad militants were amongst those killed. None were reported to be in the mass grave. So this is another lie. So now what the IDF is claiming, that they were deliberately targeting them because they believed they were Hamas. It's the usual excuse this bullshit no longer buys. On the 1st of April, 2 witnesses tell The Guardian that some of the bodies recovered from the grave had their hands or feet tied, suggesting they were shot after being detained. So even on the assumption that they were Hamas, if this lie is to be believed. But their hands and feet were tied and they were shot dead, execution style. What does it tell you? They were murdered. A Red Crescent official said Israeli officials could be heard over a phone line that was open to one of the paramedics, ordering restraints to detain apparent survivors from the convoy. So they knew who they were. A forensic consultant who examined 5 of the bodies said there is evidence of execution-style killing in some cases based on intentional location shots at close range. And then your hypocrite, Lamy, states it become a dangerous place for humanitarian workers. So this is the forensic consultant that we were talking about. I don't know if this is now showing, evidence of execution-style killings of Palestinian aid workers by Israeli forces. So this is from the Guardian newspaper, so it's not from Al Jazeera or Press TV or any other Islamic outlet. This is your UK-based, credible, I would say, center-left journal, The Guardian, the newspaper, which detailed a forensic consultant stating that multiple bullets were used from short range in an attack that is called global outrage. I don't know if the BBC has covered this, but a forensic doctor who examined the bodies said that these 15 paramedics were shot dead by Israeli paramedics, and there is evidence of execution-style killing based on the specific intentional location of shots at close range, because they were shot in the head. The Palestinian Red Crescent, the civilian defense of UN employees were on a humanitarian mission, which we discussed on 23rd of March, until they were ambushed and they were murdered in close range. And then, of course, Ahmad Dhaher, that's his name, a forensic consultant who examined 5 of the dead after they'd been exhumed, said all of them had died from bullet wounds. All cases had been shot with multiple bullets, except for one who could not be determined due to the body being mutilated by animals like dogs, leaving it almost just like a skeleton. So the body was mutilated when they picked it up. It was eaten alive by dogs. It had maggots. And there was very little left. So you couldn't basically determine from the skeletal remains. You can't conduct a post-mortem report. Preliminary analysis suggests they were executed not from a distant range, since the location of the bullets was specific and intentional. One observation is that the bullets were aimed at one person's head, another at the heart. The third person had been shot with 6 or 7 bullets in the torso. So the IDF would be lying. They would be lying if they were to say that these particular people were targeted because they were suspected to being Hamas. So if you're at a distance and you see a convoy, now you're thinking that, look, these are Hamas, so you then shoot. That's itself is you condemn that. But in any event, this shows that this was close range. So these people knew who they were. They knew they were paramedics. They knew they worked for the Red Crescent. They knew one was a UN employee. They knew there was an ambulance. And they had tied and restrained them. And then they were shot in the head. So if you knew that they were Hamas militants, why did you go out of your way to bury the ambulance? Why did you go out of your way to go and bury the UN vehicle? Why did you do that? So this paramedics, this forensic expert states that there was room for due to the decomposition, and that in cases reviewed, most of the bullets targeted the joints such as the shoulder, the elbow, the ankle, or the wrist. 2 witnesses to the body stated they had seen bodies, the hands and legs which had been tied, suggesting that they had been detained before their deaths. A Red Crescent said that one of the paramedics had his hands tied together with his legs to the body. So these Palestinian paramedics shot by the Israeli forces had their hands tied. They had their hands tied. So is there anyone out there any Zionist out there that wants to defend this? Do we have any Zionist, Mohammed, that wants to actually defend this kind of atrocity, the latest atrocity? The latest atrocity. Anyone out there that has the guts to come on to defend this? Come and challenge us. Come and challenge us. Because the evidence is overwhelming. The gunshots were fired from close distance. They're butchered. They have their hands bound, and nothing is being done. There's no investigation. No investigation. Nothing. So I want someone to come out. I've invited this individual here called Daniel Block. He's a Zionist. I don't know who the hell he is, but he was involved in some capacity with the Jewish Board of Deputies. And he's on my group. I've demanded that he comes on and come and defend this kind of atrocity. Come on and defend this atrocity where your Israeli godfathers and idols have been engaging in this kind of mass atrocity, executing people. And this is not the first time it's happened. This is not the first time. Not the first time. It's happened many, many times where you have situations where the Israelis have been targeting children at schools, targeting children at hospitals, targeting children at outlets which have been turned into refugee camps. I mean, we've had numerous accounts, not just now, where Israelis have been shooting children in the back of the head in as early as 2024. Let me just see if I can get this particular article which I discuss. Where are we? Jabalia. There's so many incidents that have occurred where there were mass graves at Jabalia refugee camp. Let me try and see if I can get this news article. Random mass graves. This is from the Euromed Human Rights Monitor. This is not the article that I'm looking at, but showing mass graves. Let me try and share this with you. Let me go up here and share this particular article. This is from the Euromed Human Rights Monitor. This is dating back to 2024. Let me just check this and see if we can get this to you. This was last year. So mass graves is not. It's not. If you can share the screen, mass graves is not. It's not an aberration. What you're seeing here, what I've showed you, people who are seeing this or seeing this chat for the first time, this is not an aberration. This is now documented by Euromed Human Rights Monitor. This was on the 18th of September, 2024. Thousands of families, well, this is the other article, are burying children in mass graves after these children are being shot dead. These children are being shot dead. Their random mass graves have become something of a phenomenon in Gaza. There was a mass grave in Al-Oda market near the Jabalia refugee camp containing about 120 bodies. A mass grave next to the Indonesian hospital in Tel Al-Zatar neighborhood north of Jabalia containing 200 dead bodies. A mass grave in the Jabalia camp market containing about 100 mass bodies. A mass grave in the backyard of the Jabalia preparatory school containing more than 55 dead bodies. A mass grave in Al-Rifai opposite the Al-Ameri Al-Jabalia Al-Balad containing more than 70 bodies. A mass grave containing about 44 bodies. So what you see is it's not just a genocide in Gaza. what you see is basically a Holocaust. A Holocaust that is basically happening before our eyes on a scale that we never saw before.
But the issue is, Yusuf, but the issue is here now, Yusuf, is that we can actually see it. When we was growing up as young children, we would read it in the books, of history books. We taught it at school and so forth. But now we are actually witnessing it with our own eyes. We can see the imagery that's coming out. And also now there has been a video that has been released of the massacre of these aid workers. They cannot deny it anymore. The West cannot continue to lie for Israel anymore. And with that, I would love to hear the response or a reply from the Muslim apologist who's based in a Muslim country. And I would love to hear their thoughts of being in a Muslim country, but yet too weak to speak up or demand justice for the people of Palestine. And it really annoys me that we always brag about how many Muslims there are on the earth, but yet where are we? Where are the rulers? Where are the leaders? Where are you now? And sometimes I remind myself when I see a clip of a young Palestinian girl demanding for the Muslims to help the people of Palestine. You know, where are the men? Where are the rulers? Where are the leaders? Where are the warriors? Where are you? Sorry, Brother Yusuf.
I was just wanting to state that before we go to Muslim apologist, this is your latest. I mean, the latest just a day ago. I'm trying to share from diverse sources as possible. This is from France 24. I'm going to share this from France 24. There's many news outlets that can pick this up, but this is from France 24, as we are talking about a day ago. That if you can clearly see this here, at least 27 children and people, Palestinians, women and children, were killed in an Israeli bombing on what is left as a Gaza school, because they're not schools, but they were former schools. So this was a school building that was serving as a shelter for displaced families, the poorest of the poor people, poorest of the poor who have no food, no shelter, no medication. Their houses are destroyed, and they're looking at a school as a makeshift school for a refugee camp. They were murdered. This is a day ago. So an Israeli airstrike murdered more than 100, killed at least 100 across. This is daily. The bodies of 14 children and 5 women were recovered from the school because the others were blown up to smithereens. And then, of course, more than 30 other Gaza residents were killed in strikes parallel to this in their homes. And again, the usual story, which we've blown up. We've destroyed this Hasbara. We've destroyed this. They claim Hamas command control center. So the 3 pointers, people know, it's like the Trinity being a 3-legged stool. The 3 lies of the Israeli Hasbara. Number 1, they are targeting Hamas. Number 2, that they are acting in self-defense. And number 3, they denial. So it's denial, acting in self-defense, or Hamas and command control center. Nobody believes this rubbish anymore. Nobody believes this kind of rubbish anymore, because not just one leg of the stool has fallen, but all 3 has collapsed. All 3 has collapsed. So this was just as we're talking, besides talking about the paramedics, the school has basically, so I want this to be etched in memory, because few months down the line, if this genocide continues, we'll see other places and other areas, like we discussed months ago, we've forgotten the killings and the atrocities that took place. So just remember, as we are talking now, from France 24, this is the 4th of April, yesterday, just a day ago, the strike killed and displaced a school makeshift building that was basically housing Palestinian civilians that had nothing to do with Hamas, that were not even part of the resistance, the legitimate resistance, I may add, and were part and parcel of this particular atrocity that we're seeing. So I just wanted to share this. You can have a look at this if you want to. And as we are talking now, I think, Brother Muhammad, you alluded to something else that was happening, because as we are talking now, there are strikes happening. And by this evening, we will be seeing new reports of more people being killed. By Monday, we will see more people being killed. And so these individuals need to be humanized. They're not purely statistics. They need to be given a human face, and their stories need to be told. Their stories need to be told. As we heard at the beginning of this genocide, the lies about the beheaded babies, the lies about the mass rapes, the lies against Hamas, but we are seeing in real time beheaded babies, people being burnt alive, children being massacred, and people with their hands tied behind their backs being killed execution style. Nothing is being done. The least we are doing, at the very bare minimum, is exposing this, exposing the lies, exposing the Israeli Hasbara, and condemning it for it being a terrorist state. And at the same time, we call for the total disbandment and the total elimination of the state of Israel. I don't call anymore for a two-state solution where there's a Palestinian state living next side by side by an Israeli state. The Israeli state has to go completely. We call for the total disbandment and elimination of the state of Israel. And I want any Muslim apologist out there, I'm not talking about our good brother from Malaysia, but I want any Muslim channel out there with millions of views, or a Muslim leader out there, to come and challenge my position. Come on this platform.
Also, Brother Yusuf,
come and challenge me.
If there's any other Muslim channel who is willing to have Brother Yusuf Ismail on their channel as a guest speaker to raise awareness of the plight of the Palestinian people, please contact me, and I can share Brother Yusuf's information to you, because Brother Yusuf, mashallah, has a lot of research behind him. And mashallah, he's a very good, eloquent speaker and very powerful in his speech and words. So if there's any channel out there who wants to invite Brother Yusuf on their show, please contact me, or they can contact Brother Yusuf Ismail directly. And hopefully we can arrange a podcast or a show for you. That's not a problem. Sorry, Brother Yusuf, I did cut you up in mid-flow.
Yeah.
We've got brothers on the stage right now. We got the Muslim apologist, and we got Haq Responds official. Welcome to the show, brothers. What would you like to share, and what would you like to talk about?
Walaikum salam wa rahmatullah. My two brothers from Britain, I guess, Great Britain and South Africa. I hope that you're well, alhamdulillah.
Yeah, I'm well, brother, but my heart bleeds. I posted on X earlier today. My heart is bleeding after seeing some of the horrific imagery that's coming out of Palestine, the destruction of the brothers and sisters, women and children who are being massacred. Even just by today, as we are speaking, over 12 people, Palestinians, have been murdered by the Israeli army. And even when we finish this show, and when we wake up in the morning, inshallah, tomorrow, there'll be probably 10 to 15 more people being massacred and killed, women and children, by the Israeli army. And this Israeli army is funded by the American taxpayer, by the British taxpayer, the bombs that are being dropped, the aeroplanes that are being flown. And unfortunately, a lot of these planes and imagery and maps and information is shared by other Muslim countries who are participating in this genocide. And I just hope and I pray that these people have to stand in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on that day and be questioned for their involvement in the killing of other Muslims. With that, welcome the Muslim apologist and Haq Responds, and please continue with what you were going to say. I do apologize for cutting you off.
Yeah, if the brother Haq Responds wants to say a few things, yeah, you can go ahead, brother.
Thank you for having me. No, it's a very good thing you brothers are doing here, opening the eyes of many people, because I have never seen a Dawa channel actually talking much about Palestine. I on my channel will not speak about that very frequently, but may Allah bless you both. And I sent the link of the stream to a Zionist I have on my Discord server. So he might be here very soon. I gave him the link. He speaks a lot about Israel is correct and the Palestinians are this and that. I gave him the link, so he will be here very soon. I want him to see what he has with him.
Yeah,
So
that's
thank
very
you,
Let
noble.
him come on. Let him come on. I
Very
look forward
noble
to
of
him. What's
you.
his name?
Very noble of you. But the problem is, a lot of these Zionists, when they want to come on, they don't want to show their faces. And this is very
Yeah, they are.
sad to see. They are cowards, to be honest. So if there is anybody willing to come on and defend this genocide, you can hit the link and come on. As we know, and as the brothers and sisters know in the chat, our sister Ahmad Rahman, we know that these people are cowards. They never want to show their face, and they get very abusive, and they just want to throw harsh words at Brother Yusuf and then run away. But if there's anybody willing to come on, the link has been pinned, and you are most welcome to join and have a fruitful, fiery discussion. Hakush Sponge, where are you calling from, brother? Are you from Pakistan or?
I'm from India, my brother.
Okay, welcome to the show, brother. Welcome. If you ever want to invite Brother Yusuf Ismail or any other brother, I know the Muslim Apologist has got a very good YouTube channel. I think we need to get Brother Yusuf Ismail on other platforms. And please leave your email address or something, and then Brother Yusuf can hopefully hook up with you, brothers, and possibly do a short presentation to make this genocide more known to other parts of the world. There is definitely a censorship going on right now. If you even mention the term Israel or Zionism in certain parts of the world, you can be arrested now. You can be detained and deported. And we've been seeing that over the past few days of people being deported, arrested, detained, shipped off to other places due to their personal feelings or the aspects of raising the awareness of the genocide that's been taken place in Palestine. The Muslim Apologist, previously you came on the show and you mentioned regarding one of, I think it was a health worker from your country or an aid worker that was murdered. Any updates on that particular story?
Yeah, sorry, brother. You were saying? Yeah. Sorry, I didn't get quite what you said.
Yeah, previously when you joined our show about a week ago, you spoke about, I think, an aid worker or a employee from your country that was murdered in Palestine. Any updates on that particular story?
Yeah, six aid workers from a Malaysian NGO who were distributing aid in Gaza were murdered by the terrorist regime. I don't want to call them by their name anymore. This illegal and terroristic regime. And unfortunately, we have not heard any news since then. And but unfortunately, also Malaysia has been overwhelmed with some local news involving a gas pipeline explosion, a recent gas line explosion. So that particular incident has been overshadowing the news of what's going on in Palestine. Although we do have some updates, we do keep ourselves abreast of what's currently happening in Gaza, of course. But local news comes as a priority here. And the recent, I mean, 2 days ago, Trump announced some tariffs as well. That has also affected us too. So that both these things are affecting our news coverage at the moment. So that has been dominating the news about Palestine. So about this news that both of you are currently covering about the ambulance workers that were massacred, in cold blood by the terrorist forces. That I only knew about that this morning. I came across the news. I was just scrolling through my my browser, my usual news feeds, and suddenly I saw this news about ambulance workers being massacred in cold blood by these terrorist forces, which has been sanctioned by the United States, unfortunately. So yeah, I just came to know about it, and from what I read, it was horrendous. I saw the video. I saw the video of one of the aid workers. I presume that he was carrying a body cam, so he was apparently responding to a van that was parked by the roadside. I presume he thought that there was someone injured, And when they were leaving their vehicles, they were ambushed by these terrorist forces. And he managed to, I heard him reciting the Shahada before he was massacred. So inshallah, they have died a martyr's death. Inshallah, they died as Shaheed, inshallah. Yeah.
I mean,
Brother Muhammad, I just want to share this. This was a report that I think we discussed last year. This remarkable woman, Francesca Albanese, we must get her on this platform at some point in the future. I am going to try and reach out to her. But she did this report in October 2024. I think we may have to discuss this, but this report is the UN Special Rapporteur report on the situation of the human rights in the past since 1967. And what she did was she compiled systematically the entire incident of events that transpired since October 7th. And she makes she sets out, she relies on important legal framework, including international humanitarian law, human rights law, criminal law, and customary law, and particularly the Genocide Convention and the International Convention on the Suppression and Punishment of the Crime of Apartheid. And her conclusion is absolutely shocking to the core. I mean, she points out that this idea of the unfolding genocide is simply a means to an end, the eradication. So when she starts off with the ordering of 1.1 million Palestinians to move south, that she describes as one of the fastest displacements in human history. Fastest, and this is last year. So, I mean, the situation is far worse now. 90% of Palestinians have been forcibly displaced more than 10 times. It fulfills the definition of genocide. Violence has gone beyond the high-ranking Israeli officials. I mean, now even the Israeli finance minister, president, deputy president, they've made statements of genocidal intent. Back then, March 2024, the figures were far lower. But what she found, for example, and this is 13,000 children, including more than 700 babies, have been killed, many shot in the head and the chest. So here's the thing. You see, many people sometimes make the argument that their target is Hamas and that children being killed are collateral damage, accidental. Even that is bad enough, because if, for example, there are people in your house that are essentially holding you hostage, what would you do? You'd get the law enforcement to try and take the risk and get you out. You wouldn't blow up the entire house with the children and your family inside, because you'd be described as a lunatic. But it's not just that. Here you have cases of children, some of them babies, being killed and shot in the head and the chest, meaning they're murdered in cold blood. So these Zionists that want to come and challenge us, explain this. By the way, this is not Coca-Cola. For those, I don't drink Coca-Cola. It's a local drink, just in case you see the color of this. I don't support Coca-Cola. I don't encourage you to drink Coca-Cola or Starbucks. All of these companies are Zionist products. So just for the record out there. But coming back to this point, these are 13,000 children at that stage in March 2024. Now it's far more. Now it's close to 25,000 children and babies killed and shot in the head and the chest. This is the background in the report. By May, a further 10,000 people were estimated to be buried in the rubble, May last year, including 4,000 children. An uncertain number are destroyed. The magnitude of the destruction have prompted allegation of domicide, which is clearly the domicide is the entire destruction of infrastructure, homes, schools, etc. Urbicide, urban destruction. Scholasticide, destroying of scholarly outlets like universities, schools. Medicide, destroying of the medical fraternity, the hospitals, the medical supplies, the clinics, all of that. Cultural genocide, destroying the cultural heritage of the Palestinians. Have got nothing left. And ecocide, nearly 40 million tons of debris, including unexploded ordnance, human remains contaminate the system. More than 140 temporary waste sites and 340,000 tons of waste, untreated wastewater, sewage overflow contribute to the spread of the diseases such as hepatitis A, respiratory infections, diarrhea, and skin diseases. As Israeli leaders promised Gaza has been made unfit for human life. So if you're a Zionist out there, how can you be a sadistic human being to come and defend us? If you are listening, how can you be a satanic human being? How sick in the mind are you to defend such evil? If you're a Muslim leader, how can you sit back and do nothing? How can you simply sit back and do nothing and allow Trump to come and visit your country, this psychopathic maniac? If you're a Muslim YouTube channel, how can you basically waste your life attacking other YouTube channels, having mindless, useless debates on Aqidah, on some fallacious issues, and attacking this channel, attacking that channel, attacking this person, attacking that sheikh, but not deal with what is there before your eyes? How can you be caught up in this kind of sectarian waste where you are basically more interested in your own monetization or demonetization, own accumulation of wealth, and not basically be concerned of what is basically happening right there? This is if the 20th century was known for the Holocaust, for the crimes of the Second World War, for what happened under Pol Pot in Cambodia, for the rise of the Khmer Rouge and the Indonesian Holocaust that took place under General Suharto. If the 20th century will be known for that, then the 21st, and of course the Rwandan genocide in 1994, nobody can forget that, then at the very least, the 21st century will be known for the Israeli genocide. And you are living through it in history. You are living through it. And besides possibly one or two things you have made mention at the beginning of the genocide, since it was very topical back then, you've kept silent. You kept quiet. And you are having your own programs and your own discussions and your own debates for entertainment, but not dealing with this as it is happening. Rather, it is the non-Muslim channels out there. Channels like, as I've mentioned in the past, Owen Jones, and people like Novara Media, YouTube channel, and, probably even to a certain extent, Candace Owens, not necessarily so, but I mean, people like her, and of course, other channels like the Electronic Intifada that have been doing phenomenal job. These are the voices that are out there speaking about what is happening. If you've got 1 million subscribers, or 1.5 million subscribers, and you're a so-called Muslim Dawah channel, you're not even mentioning, at least even giving 2 minutes of what is happening there, 2 minutes of your channel contribution to what is happening, then you ought to be ashamed of yourself. You ought to be ashamed of yourself, utterly ashamed that you're not giving this more and more coverage. So coming back to this particular report, this is Francesca Albanese's report. This is what she discussed. I mean, and by the way, as bad as these statistics are at this stage, as bad as they are, it's even worse now, because this is way back. It's dealing with the situation in March and May 2024. The report came out in October, but it dealt with the situation back then. So all that you see here right now is outdated. All that you see is outdated. So as an example, by August 2024, repeated evacuation orders of approximately 84% of Gaza had corralled the majority of population into a shrinking, unsafe humanitarian zone covering 12.6%. That 12.6% doesn't exist anymore. The entire area, as Trump himself stated, is like a mass demolition site. There's nothing. There is nothing left. Nothing left. Two ministers back then called for the total annexation of Gaza. More have done so since then. More have done so. And back then, this was the incident that I was looking at. From 18th March to 1st April, Israeli forces laid siege to the Al-Shifa hospital, killing more than 400 and detaining 300 people, including doctors, patients, and displaced persons and civil servants. At the Al-Shifa hospital, outside the hospital, the patients were shot dead, execution style, in cold blood. They were bound and they were buried alive in shallowy graves. Back then, you had a situation where they're bombing humanitarian trucks. I mean, you lose count. I need an entire book to document each and every single atrocity that has been committed, because we are losing sight of it. We're losing in real memory. Forget 20 years from now, but in real memory, in our lifetime, right now, as genocide is unfolding, I am forgetting, and I assume the same with Brother Muhammad. We are forgetting what happened about 2 or 3 months ago, because every day there's something new that is occurring. Every day there is something new. For example, the polio virus. I forgot about that in July 2024.
Well, do you remember the pier that America said they're going to build on the coastline of Gaza?
Yeah.
The pier that people were able to bring aid in for the people of Palestine and so forth. What happened to that? What happened to that?
Lies. That never happened. It never happened. In fact, I think that was destroyed. The entire bridge was basically destroyed. I mean, it was destroyed. Starvation at the time. I mean, and this again, when I basically mentioned this, I want people to realize that all that I'm presenting to you, as bad as it may seem, this is outdated news. This is done by Francesca in October. That's how bad the situation is. It's like, for example, you can talk about 9/11, 3,000 people were killed, and that was it. Or maybe less, 2,000 and somewhat. But it was not a continuing story. And then, of course, for months, people were talking about 9/11 and what happened and so on and so forth. But it was one day. You can't do that about Gaza, because what happened one week, what happens today, these killings of these paramedics, 2 weeks from now will be stale news. There'll be something else happening there. There'll be something else. So the starvation, for example, as at 14th of September 2024, the situation is amplified tenfold. Back then, when Netanyahu was stating blocking all food supplies, now there's nothing. There is nothing happening. That's why I question a lot of these people who are collecting funds from Gaza. Don't give your monies to Gaza. Don't go and give your monies to these fundraisers. We don't know who these people are. Be careful if you part your monies. I'm not saying this to be caddish or somehow the other, bitter about the situation. If there is legitimate outlets collecting monies or raising or going, and you are able to get into Gaza by some means or the other, I would 100% support that, and so would Brother Muhammad. Right now, Palestinians have got no access. The food trucks are being held. They're starving the entire area. What little was allowed inside is not being allowed anymore. So those people who are collecting monies, what are you doing? I mean, are you collecting it for yourself? I'm not saying that, but I'm saying, are you doing it for your own self-aggrandizement? That money is not reaching Gaza. Please, people, think where you throw your money out in terms of who you give it out to and how you raise. That's one thing we've never done in all this time. And you can basically make out those channels out there who are sincere and want to really genuinely talk about the atrocities, and those that are just simply doing it for clickbaits and for funds and for raising monies. I just saw a channel a couple of days ago raising for £50,000. 50,000 pounds, I'll tell you, is a lot of money in South Africa. I don't know if it's a lot of money in the UK, but £1, to give you an example, is equivalent of 22 rands. Our currency at one stage in South Africa during the apartheid regime, that just goes to show that the UK supported South African apartheid. £1 was 1 rand. Now 1 rand is 22 pounds. So 50,000 pounds amounts to close to 1 million rands, which is a lot of money in South Africa. 1 million rands is still 1 million rands. You're a millionaire in South Africa. So I saw a channel a couple of days ago raising 50,000 pounds to teach people to read Salah. I don't know how that is done. How do you teach people to read Salah with 50,000 pounds? This boggles the mind. This boggles the mind. And then you've got channels raising money for Gaza. Where does that money go to in the first place? If Israel does not allow you to access or enter Gaza, none of us, if I were to go there on the borders, we were to enter Tel Aviv now, go to Israel, we'll probably be arrested. We can't even, people who are activists cannot even enter Gaza. How can your channels be raising monies for Gaza? Please. So this is just a warning to those out there who are giving their monies. And we have the same thing in South Africa, fundraising dinners for Gaza. Please, please be careful where your monies go to. There are a lot of people that are using the Palestinian crisis and the Israeli genocide that is being committed for their own monetary gain and their own self-monetary aggrandizement. Just please be careful. So coming back to this,
Brother Yusuf, unfortunately, I have to shoot off in a short while.
Okay.
Okay. So hopefully we can do a part 2 if you want to
Indeed.
of this tomorrow. I'll be available, inshallah. Just a quick reminder: between 1 and 4 o'clock tomorrow, which is a Sunday, I will have a little dawah stall giving out free Qur'ans here in Coventry, in the Folsall area of Coventry, outside Edric Park. So if you are around Coventry or in the Folsall area, between 1 and 4 o'clock, I will be outside Edric Park giving out free Islamic literature and free Qur'ans. So hopefully tomorrow, after that, maybe in the evening, we can hopefully hook up again and do a part 2 to this, and we can continue.
I just want to know something quickly. Who's this Muslim Zionist in the side chat?
He's gone. He ran
gone.
off. Yeah.
So he didn't want to show his face again as usual.
He didn't want to.
But these guys are cowards. They're in their lager like cowards. But this is the problem that we've got. Anyway, we'll do a part 2. We'll do a part 2 tomorrow. And let's just work out a schedule, and maybe we can invite more guests online, more Zionists, and then we can, of course, we can take it from there.
Of course. Thank you for joining me, Brother Yusuf. Thank you for taking time out. Thank you to the Muslim apologist and everybody else who participated in today's show. Don't forget, brothers and sisters, a quick reminder, my YouTube channel and Brother Yusuf's channel has been shadow banned. So if you are in the chat, please share this on X. X is a bit more free and a bit more open to share imagery coming out of Palestine and the horrific destruction of the Gaza Strip and, of course, the West Bank. And the imagery that is coming out right now regarding these medics is going to be shocking. And I hope and I pray for the victory for the Palestinian people over this terrorist, genocidal Israeli army. I do pray that Palestine and the people of Palestine and the resistance will overcome this army of these evil bastards. Brother Yusuf, thank you for joining me. Brother Muslim apologies. Inshallah ta'ala, we can hopefully do something in the future. And all the brothers and sisters in the chat, Jazakallah khair. Your brother Muhammad from CovFF. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.